Hello and welcome to Rainman Co podcast series, where we bring business leaders and experts who tell us about their experiences and share some advice on how to be successful in today's competitive business landscape. Today's topic is on consultancies, and with us is Jazz Rashid, President, Liverbridge, and founder of Group North America. Thank you, Jazz.
Thank you, Zille. Pleasure to be here.
Great. Now, I want to dive right in. Your career and personal professional both span different geographies from the US, from India to US, and now to Dubai. Can you tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Born in India, of course, in Bombay. I remember playing in the streets of Bombay, playing those crickets over there.
When it was
Great.
Bombay and
Yeah,
not
it was
Mumbai.
Bombay back then, right? I mean, now, of course, I have to get adapt into that the whole Mumbai side of it. And it's recently actually went there, it's changed and evolved a lot. But being in Bombay and then transitioning into States in '89, my parents, I mean, God bless them, may they rest in peace, but they actually are the roots who actually have put a strong foundation to who I am today. They took me to States with that aspiration. They wanted their son to be in States. And they were the ones who were my first consultant, the first teachers, right? I mean, we all have parents who have groomed us to who we are today and how they have shaped me. So they took me to States, and that's where my journey began as a teenager going into my adulthood. And then it was a fascinating thing that actually came to Dubai out of the fluke. And believe it or not, it was actually an interesting journey on that one. I wanted to come to India, and I was like, I'm going to India, but it was a layover for a very short period of time. And that's why my mother, she always coaches me. She's like, wait a minute, why are you only stopping by for a little bit? You need to stop by a little longer in Dubai. I'm like, oh, mom, seriously, come on. And, why would want to be in Middle East? But little that I knew. And when I stopped over here, it was a 6-hour layover, ended up being a week and a half. Wow. That's how much passion and love. What I saw in UAE, especially in Dubai, is a combination of all the culture colliding together as one. Right. The Indian side of it, and then the Western culture side of it, all collided as one, and how beautiful it was, and how evolving this country has been. And that's why I was like, wow, this is fascinating. And I do see my journey, going through this great evolution of Dubai. So that's what, coming from India to States, coming here, still an American, keep going back, and I'm actually, with the great parents that I had, they actually definitely gave me some great foundations. And today I say that, my other foundation comes with a beautiful wife that I have, who has given me 3 beautiful kids, and I have 3 great kids. I mean, all different ages, of course, from 27 to the one who's 13 as a teenager, and then going that teenage era, right? I mean, those kind of rebellious stage. He's on that one right there. But then again, the spice that I have is with my 5-year-old. That is the little spice in my home. So that's who I am, a family guy who's got a great family at home, which is in States. But again, at the same time, the journey that I have is actually takes me to Dubai to see how I want to be a part of the evolving revolution over here.
Brilliant. And we'll come to that in just a bit. But what you mentioned, Jazz, about your parents being the first consultant.
Yeah.
So could you tell us about that? Because I found that really interesting take.
Think about it this way, I mean, we all have been raised with great parents. And the first teaching, from the time that, with that first step to take, who holds our hand? Our parents. They help us take that first step. Right. The first alphabet that we want to learn. Who teaches us? Who coaches us? Yes, of course, we go to school and universities and all that, but the first one, who teaches that?
I know this because my wife, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's exactly what's happening now. Like my wife is teaching our 2-year-old on how to draw circles, and that's exactly coaching, and like she's helping him out.
Exactly. So your wife, and I'm sure you need to participate more too, but I'm sure it's a sidebar joke right there. But again, a mother. I mean, I tell you that one thing that I'm always a very strong passion about is, I mean, I'm a father, right? But the grooming and the development a mother gives as a coaching to who we are today, and we all have had incredible mothers who has shaped us to who we are today. So we owe a lot to our mothers and the coaching and that first expertise of the coaching and that consultative side of it. Because at the end of the day, what a mother wants is just to see their child be happy and successful.
Yep. No, that's beautifully put. So switching gears, Jazz, and moving to professional side of things, because thank you so much for sharing your personal life. You've broadly moved into 4 industries. You've held senior leadership positions in all. What do you see as the common thread that binds them all together?
I know, it's fascinating, right? I mean, the audience need to know that, coming from as a teenage age going into the quick service restaurant or fast food, American dream. Every kid wants to go into the fast food restaurant as a first job. So that's where it all evolved, going into the fast food restaurant as a quick service restaurant. And starting from there, small business from a franchisee, evolving myself into furthermore with the great team that I surrounded myself with. That was a great part of my journey at the quick service restaurant. From that, I had grown with the help of the team who had helped me, shaped me, and developed me. My team did it, right? And I was able to have that district manager role where I surrounded myself with great managers and great leaders all around that I learned so much from those great mentors all the way across. That right there took me to food service, fine dining. And then little that I knew, I went into the electronic side of it, into the wireless world.
Wow, that's different.
That was different, right? I mean, from flipping the burger
Yep,
to going
exactly.
to the wireless side
Yep.
of it, that was a big change. And the wireless side of it was with one of the largest chain in states at that time, which is called Radio Shack. Of course, it's now no longer there, but Radio Shack was one of the largest chain in U.S. at that time, by Tandy Corporation. Small branches, but the evolution that they had with the wireless that came into play and how that electronic store evolved with the support of wireless and what kind of a boom that happened in the wireless industry was the one that gave Radio Shack additional boost. And I was a part of that journey that saw the growth of this. Each branch is like a small store, a small business stores kind of thing, that how it kept growing and growing and growing. Then from there, it was that relationship that I had established with the wireless carriers that brought me to one of the distributors. And this was a small distributor. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. It was a small distributor, and it was pretty much localized as a local. But at the same time, you want to be local, but also think global.
Right.
Okay, capture the local side of it and go in strategically a way that you can capture more and more market share. And that was a vision that myself and the chairman of that company had. And we wanted to grow the company, that small distribution company. And this was a wholesale distributor for wireless. And who were we distributing it to? We were distributing it to small business owners, right? Small retail stores who wanted to get into the wireless world. And so we were providing them with a proper service solution and the service for them to grow and evolve in that. And that passion grew from just in California all the way to being all the way to New York and to the Florida. So we captured the entire nation in the US. And that was an incredible journey. And what passion came with that was what we were able to provide the support to those small business owners, those retailers, and how we can help them and to shape them up to grow furthermore. And that was a fascinating journey. And then when I went nationwide, that's when I was like, you know what, why limit only being nationwide? Why not go global? And that's when the birth of Group North America came in. The Group North America, of course, is the one which is for Canada and for America and for Mexico, to bring those suppliers and manufacturers go towards Europe, go towards Middle East. And that was what the passion was, to expand it. Furthermore, especially at that time, which originally was launched in 2009, it was with the Obama administration. And that was one thing that they were pretty keen about, exportations. So that's passion came in that one. And then I thought about it. I'm like, look, what is my biggest passion is to help small business owners. Because at the end of the day, those are the backbone of a country. So where do all the small business owners go when they want to start up? They actually go to a bank. That's where it all starts. They need the finances, right?
The capital, yeah.
So I wanted to like, okay, so that's where my journey transitioned into the banking world. That was the new horizon for me. That's where I was able to have great teams around me. And my team was able to provide that support to all different sectors, all different industries, and see those business owners come with their needs and what their ask was and how the bank was able to provide them with those support and those solutions. And that evolution that I had within myself, with my team, and how the whole team developed furthermore with the strength of the small business owners is what the great journey was all about. And now it's more about understanding with my team that, okay, small business owners do need more help. And how can we provide more help to them? Of course, you can be in the framework of a bank, but it's more than just the finance framework side of it. It's more additional things. You're consulting them. So that's when I wanted to make sure that I have the Group North America consulting firm we introduced to the US market and, of course, in Middle East.
Wow. And so, Jazz, when you say that, because I know that growing every sort of SME or business has its own challenges. Now, you've been fortunate enough to be as an SME earlier, and now from a bank, and then finally as a consultant. What do you think are the challenges when a business grows from, let's say, one store to two? So it's like, then they're growing regionally, nationally, and then globally.
I like to call it not a challenge. It's more of about an area of an opportunity.
Okay.
Everybody, including myself, including anyone out there as an individual or a business, an organization, they all have an area of an opportunity what they can improve on. So those are things that you want to take a look at. Now, if you think about, globally, right, things might differ from one sector to the other sector, or perhaps from one country to the other country. But at the core of the business is always going to be the same. And some challenges that happen in small businesses, the way when they get into the business, how for them to diversify and be more innovative on how they can actually enhance and improve their operations furthermore that can help them in the long run.
Wow. And so you said something very interesting, and those were like catchphrases about as an SME, like your sort of vision is to support, empower, grow. What were the three words that you mentioned? And
Yeah. So think about it this way. From being a child, okay, you want to support them, right? You want to help them. You want to show them. You want to teach them. But in the end, you want to empower them to do on their own. So in a business also, you want to first, show them, support them, and empower them. So that way they can be able to do it repeatedly. It's not about a one-time thing. It's not about only the one step. It's the multiple steps that they want to take moving forward in a firm structure.
you mentioned you just have been to India, and you went into McDonald's to have a beef burger. And what did you find?
I'm glad that you mentioned that. It was actually pretty interesting, right? This is where the logic of comes in, where how things, demographics, it can play a big part. Now, it can play a big part with the cultural side of it. So I'm a big fan of burgers, right? I love enjoying and eating burger. I think, most of the Americans, they love that burger bite. It's something that kicks with us. So when I went to India, the first thing was like, I wanted to go to McDonald's. I wanted to just walk in there. And of course, as soon as I walked in, I'm looking at the menu. First of all, the feel of that whole McDonald's was the same as it was in States, right? I mean, when I walk in there, they have the similar counters, they have the similar uniforms, similar line process to it. But then all of a sudden I see, wait a minute, the menu is completely different. So I look at the menu. I'm like, okay, why is the menu? Where's the beef burger at?
Big Mac,
But of course, we can't find the beef over there, right? So I'm like, okay. Then again, that was something different. It was one of those veggie burgers. And I tried, okay, you know what? I'm going to try those veggie burgers. And I tell you, it's actually pretty good. It's actually really good, actually. So when I ate that, and I was like, okay, now think about it this way. A McDonald's, right? Of course, it's one of the largest chain. Okay, one of them, right? When you go to a McDonald's, you want to see the same uniformity all the way across. Okay, so the culture is going to be somewhat of, in a way, the same theme of a McDonald's. But then the menus might be different because it would have to be adapted to the taste buds of the culture of the audience around you. So those things will change. But the core of the business of the McDonald's, of making sure the uniforms, the hats, and the operations, and how their whole financial and the preparations,
arch,
they are going to be the same. I mean, their food costs, the labor costs, all that is the fundamentals of a business to make sure that it's more operationally sound. Those are always going to be the same. But there are things which will change based on the target audience that you have, that who will be more attracted towards that. So in similar ways, there's many industries out there. And I also joke around with, you will never find the Chinese food the same way you can find it in the States, because I was a customer Chinese food over there. But when I came here and I tried the Chinese food over here in Dubai, it was a fusion with the Indian. Oh my God, it was absolutely incredible.
So,
but again, it was the taste buds over here, right?
True.
So it's just one of those things.
Cater to that, yeah. When we were offline, you also mentioned about a very interesting statistic. Now, everybody wants to, of course, have their business and, launch a business. But of course, they come with its own sort of challenges. There was a very interesting statistic that you shared about SMEs failing.
I know where you're going with this.
Yes. Can you please tell me about it?
No, absolutely. Now, this is, many market reports have provided us results on this one. It's one of those things, it goes with any kind of business. I mean, most of the businesses, when they have that passion, they want to start as a startup company, about 20% of them shut down their first year. And then about anywhere from 40 to 50% shut down the second to third year. So now why that happens, why do you think that is a question that you want to ask yourself. Now, is it the finances? They had limited finances. That does play a big part, because being from the bank side of it, I've seen that happen so often. Sometimes some of the business owners will have that X amount of the capital. They don't have the revolving capital. They have one capital. They will put that in the whole business, but they don't have the revolving capital. That's where the bank plays a big part to help some of those businesses for them to grow furthermore. But that is just one part of it. There's a lot of different parts of it. I'm going to give you an example. most of the businesses, they actually, the startup businesses, at one point in time, they were, let's say, a salesman who's really good. It's a top salesperson within the organization. And that salesperson says, you know what, I'm really good in what I do. And granted so, that salesperson is really good. And the salesperson says, you know what, I want to actually have my own company. I want to have my own startups. Well, I'm going to work for somebody else. Great aspiration. Absolutely incredible. So what they do is they start up their own company. They know how to sell. But do they have the understanding of the operation side of it? Do they have the
Right.
understanding of the finance side of it? Do they
The
have the
accounting
understanding of
side
the
of
cost
it,
side
yeah.
of it? Those are the things that sometimes some of the businesses, some of the business owners, the new startup one, they lack. And that's where you want to make sure that you have that full, all-rounded surround concept of how to run a business more operationally sound, not just with sales, but also with the right finance in play, right?
The
Make
right
sure the right
functions,
brands and products and all those things have to be in line with it for it to be more prosperous business.
Wow. Looks like, it's a tough job running a business and, let alone growing a business. Now, you've been lucky enough or fortunate enough to be in different industries, from an SME, from a business, and now with a bank to a consultant. In your 30 years of experience, we know that 20% fail. Can you share your experience and why do you think that happens, or why do businesses fail? And what is the sort of common thread there that kind of puts them all together?
Like I said, common thread, of course, is sometimes some of the business owners, they have that aspiration of growth, and which is a great aspiration. They should maintain that aspiration of growth. But at the same time, they sometimes lack. Give you an example. I just met with a business owner recently, and he might feel like, you know what, my business is not doing extremely well. Maybe I have a problem in this particular area. Now, my sales is not doing good. Well, again, why is the sales not doing good? And he couldn't answer that. He said, well, I have the products. I'm like, okay, so what is the actual problem that you're having? He says, I don't know. Okay, let's peel like an onion, understand why is this not happening. So let's take a look at your operations. Let's take a look at your logistics of it. Are you penetrating into the right areas? Are you penetrating into the right market that has a demand for it? Now that is something that it's just not about sales. It's about understanding the market, understanding the trend, understanding your logistics out of it. Then it's about profits, right? Uh, Selling a product is a great thing, but selling it for the right price, that makes sense. Now, some people might say, well, I have the good gross profit.
Mhm.
Well, is that your net profit? Because at the end of the day, it's what you take home.
Yeah.
So now the gross profit is something that is where your products are sold for X amount and you purchase for X amount. Okay, that's looking at some of your gross profits, but your net profit is taking out all of your operational costs, your
Right.
OPEX. That will come into the play on that one. So that OPEX understanding is sometimes some of the startup businesses don't grasp
Right.
quick enough.
They don't factor it
And
in.
by the time comes when they see losses, they panic. They're like, okay, maybe I need to fold it. No, you don't need to necessarily fold it. You need to evaluate it. You need to understand where the problem is happening. And if once someone sees that, that's when you can scale that business in the right direction.
Wow. So let me, of course, take that forward and ask you a two-part question, right? So one
Mhm.
is, so we know now, or we understand that, what are the sort of common threads that fail a business. What do you think successful businesses have in common then, that are making up the 80%, let's say, of in the first year, right? And do you think consulting has a role to play in
Oh,
those wins?
absolutely. Absolutely. So it's a two-part question that you asked, right? So let's think of this way. Um, what do some successful business owners do? So there's multiple different, sometimes there's unexpected things that happens. I mean, of course, the most recent one will be the COVID. That played a big part of some of the small businesses going down in a way. Then again, if you go further more back, what happened in 2008, the crisis that took place started from the Western Hemisphere, of course.
Right.
I don't want to say it like this, but U.S. was a big, segment to that
Was
one that
it?
actually all started, right? And it kind of excelled from there, went to Europe, and then all across the globe.
Yeah.
That 2008 recession was pretty drastic. And during that time, a lot of businesses failed. Small business couldn't sustain. And there are many times that, furthermore, if you peel like an onion, go back, there's been some unexpected situations that's happened. So that is one side of it, how to cope and deal with that. So I'm going to answer that one in a second. But at the same time, also to make sure that you have enough diversity in your operation, in your business, on your portfolio. So think of it this way. COVID, right? Now, COVID was a drastic one. So we're giving a few of the examples with the bank that I was with. We were coming across with a lot of situations. Some of those businesses were collapsing and failing, and they were not able to sustain it. But at the same time, there was some businesses who were doing really well. So how are those businesses doing really well? So the thing that happened was some of the businesses were putting all eggs in one basket. Like, for example, some of the retailers, they were dependent and reliant on only the foot traffic. Now, of course, during the COVID time, there wasn't any foot traffic coming in.
Right.
So those businesses failed. Now, the ones who sustained and still had growth were the ones who diversified their business, the one who had other avenues to it. So one of the models of which is our vision for Group North America is to generate new avenues.
GNA.
Exactly, to generate new avenues. So GNA. So you need to be able to generate new avenues. You need to diversify your business furthermore. So let's say, for example, if it's a retailer, do you have the e-commerce platform? Do you have the pickup service available? Do you have delivery service available? So these are multiple different platforms that goes parallel to, of course, what your core is, which is your foot traffic. Mm-hmm. So you want to stay with your core, not deviate or shift from that core what you're selling, but have different avenues on how you could penetrate furthermore to different ways to still have that revenue stream coming in with different avenues of yours. And now if one avenue of yours hinder, that doesn't mean the other 2 or 3 that you have is not working, right? So those will still sustain and they will still bring that revenue to you. So that's one diversification. The other diversification is if you have only one brand or one product only, in the same industry, for example, you can diversify it a little more, keeping on the same thing. Let's say if it's food-related product, keep more food products, but you want to have more on your portfolio. You want to have multiple different brands.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. If you have a clothing, you want to have multiple different clothing lineup, right? So you want to diversify it a little more. That will give you that ability to, let's say if there is a shortcoming on one, you don't have your business take a bigger impact. Right. So diversification on that one is very important. Diversification, even on the employees, are very important to make sure that you have the right diverse segment of employees in your operations. Because sometimes some of the markets might relate better with an ethnic, approach of you reaching out to that market with someone who is from that culture, which will have a better success rate. So that diversification is also very important. So it's not just the revenue stream for different channels, but it's also your product lineups, which are very important. You need to be more diverse in those areas, and also including with the employees or who you have in your business. Those are very important factors there to it. Sometimes some businesses, they neglect to look at those. And that's one thing you want to make sure that you can have it in operation, have in a business, to have that diversity. Now, your second question was in regards to the consulting.
Right.
What can a consulting do? So the way I look at the consulting is, when we go to see a business, we want to evaluate their operations. Okay, it's something like, think of it this way. I like to call it, you go to like a healthcare. We call it the business care, right? So you go to a business care. So when you go to a doctor, for example, I like to give this analogy. I'm going to give this analogy real quick. So let's say, for example, you go to a doctor and say, doctor, you know what? I think I have a heart problem. My heart is failing. Okay. All right. Why do you say that? Oh, no, my heart's actually having a lot of problems. And my wife asked me to come here. I've tried every single thing. I went on Google and I Googled all the home remedies.
Oh, God, that's the worst. Yeah.
And I made sure that I take all the healthy things to improve my heart. But that's not helping me. It's still giving me more and more problem. Okay. And that's when the doctor goes, okay, let me diagnose you. And that's when it finds out actually the problem is not with the heart. It was probably maybe the gastric problem. Yeah. And the more that person was eating was impacting in a negative way, which was putting more stress and pressure on the heart. So it's more about when you go to the healthcare, same way with the business care. So when we go as a consulting approach, we read, diagnose, and assess the business to see where is the area of an opportunity with that business. So what that is. So the first step is, what is the area of an opportunity? What is the vision of the business owner? Where do they want to drive their business to? What do they want to accomplish? What is their long-term goal? What is their short-term goal also? But we want to understand their long-term goal. So once we understand the what, okay, what is the area of an opportunity? What is their vision? What is the goal? Then we'll put together of how we can actually help them.
Put it together.
Okay, and that how is going to be as a roadmap to show them and empower them and teach them. So that way they can understand on how they can work to improve those areas of an opportunity and excel and scale their business up. Yeah. And then will be that question of the why they need to do this is because what their visions are, This is how you're going to do it. And that's why we ask you to do this. And we'll empower you to do this. So that way you have a sustainable growth and a profitable growth.
Exactly.
So, and that's repeated, right? It's not just like a one-time thing, sell this and you can have a great success.
Yep,
but do we
exactly.
have a roadmap for you to be consistently selling or acquiring a new market or having new market share? That way you can have that sustainable and profitable growth is what we like to show.
Brilliant. So now I see where Group North America from the West, and I would say that international or West exposure is coming down. What can businesses expect from the synergies of GNA and Liverbridge?
Great question. So, as I mentioned earlier, the team that I have at the Group North America, our team is passionate about when it comes to generating new avenues, able to identify, generate new avenues. That is our mission statement, right? And that mission statement is something which we want to have that in our pulse, that we want to help the business owners to help them to diversify their business and show them how they can generate new avenues for themselves to have some additional growth. Now, coming here in this market, this is where I come across with Liverbridge, an incredible organization doing a phenomenal job over here is what I came across with Shahzad Ahmed, who was the founder of that company. Him and I had some incredible dialogue, and we shared some similarities and some great thoughts and what we want to have that aspiration of growth to help them some small business along with our team. And that's when the vision came in of, I'll be able to, with my organization, to generate new avenues to it. But when we generate the new avenues, we need a strong consultant that understands the culture of
The
this
local, yeah.
market, because the culture is a very important thing,
True.
right? So once you understand the culture within the market right here in the Middle East, and Shahzad Ahmed has been in here this market for about 3 decades and doing a phenomenal job. He understands the pulse of it. So wanted to make sure that that merger of Group North America and Liverbridge comes together. So with that merger to take place, that's how we'll be able to have that great support delivered with the great experts in place. And not just in the overall picture of it, but also with the finance side of it, with the operation side of it, the logistics side of it. Those
The
all
whole value chain,
collaborated
yeah.
together with the support that with the GNA and Liverbridge come together as one will be extremely impactful on how we can help all the businesses, and small businesses to mid-sized businesses, to have furthermore growth, to go after what their long-term visions and their goals are. And that's what our goal is as Liverbridge and Group North America.
Wow, that's incredible. And sadly, we are running close to time. But what I intend to do is hopefully next time when you're in town and Shazad is in town, to have you both together. So that would be a very sort of insightful session. I'd like to thank you, Jazz, for your time and insights. Thank you so much for being on the show, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. And all the success on your long-term journey that you're going to be having for yourself. And don't forget to reach out to us for further more discussions.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Pleasure.
Will
Nice
do.
talking to you. Thanks.
Likewise.
Bye-bye.
See you. Thank you so much for viewing and listening into this episode. We'll be back soon. Thank you.